The questions will usually be formatted in one of the 6 following ways. 1. Missing information. Before you hear the dialogue, read the given instructions carefully and quickly scan through the questions to predict the type of information you are listening for. In this case, you are listening for a distance in kilometers for question 7 and an inclusive feature of the trip for trip 1 in question 8, a price in pounds sterling for question 9, and another inclusive trip feature for trip 2 in question number 10. Being aware of the type of information you are listening for before hearing the audio will help you to zero in on the correct answer when you hear it. The answers will come in order from question 7 to question 10. Take a good look at the question now and try to predict the type of answers you might hear. Here are the answers. How close were you? The second type of question format in the listening test is diagram labeling. In these questions, you are listening for directions and information regarding the location of the 4 areas in the park. Before the monologue begins, read the question instructions and have a good look at the map and note all the visible features and their positions in advance. The lake at the top left, East Gate in the top right corner, the roundabout near the center, the West Gate, and the refreshments area. Also, note the compass directions at the bottom right corner of the map. Lastly, read the names of the 4 specified areas for questions 17 to 20. Now, you're ready. Three. Matching information. This is an example of a matching information question. As before, read the instructions carefully. And then read through the list of locations in the house, and the 5 objects to locate before the audio begins. Four. Multiple choice. These questions are an example of the IELTS listening test, multiple choice answer format. The audio is a biographical monologue, read by a voluntary worker, called Dan Pearman. Quickly read through all the questions, and the 3 possible answers for each, before the audio begins. Keep each question, and the 3 possible answers, in your mind, as you listen. The answers will come in order. Let's go through the audio now, question by question. Here is what you will hear for question 11.
My name's Dan Pearman, and I'd like to talk about the work of Pedal Power, a small charity based mainly in the UK. I'll be giving our contact details at the end, if anyone would like to find out more about how to support us. But first, how the charity began. I got the idea of exporting bicycles to developing countries while I was in Ecuador. I went there in 1993, just after graduating from university. After 3 years of studying, I wanted adventure. I loved travelling, so I decided to join a voluntary organisation and was sent to Ecuador to carry out land surveys. The project came to an end after 5 years, and when I returned to the UK in 1998, I started planning Pedal Power.
He says that he had finished his studies, and he decided to join a voluntary organization. So the correct answer is C. Here is the audio for question 12.
Where I lived in Ecuador was a very rural area. My neighbour had the only bicycle in the village, whereas everyone else walked everywhere. My neighbour's business was unusually successful, and for years I couldn't understand why. Then I realised having a bike meant he could get where he wanted to go without much trouble. Other local carpenters could only accept jobs in a 3-kilometre radius, so no matter how skilled they were, they could never do as many jobs as my neighbour.
He says his neighbor's business was successful because his neighbor was the only one in his village to own a bicycle. So the correct answer is C. Again. Question 13.
At Pedal Power, we collect second-hand bikes in the UK and send them to some of the poorest regions in the world. When we distribute bikes overseas, we don't give them away for free. We'd like to, but long-term that doesn't really help the local economy. The demand for bikes is enormous, which makes them very expensive locally. So we sell them for 5% of the normal price. But in order to continue operating, we need to have a constant supply of bikes which we send out every 6 months.
In order to keep on operating, they need to have a constant supply of bicycles. So the correct answer is A. Question number 14. This question is a bit tricky, so listen carefully.
One example of a town that's received bicycles from Pedal Power is Rivas. It was the first place I sent a full container of bicycles to. Most people there now own a bicycle. The local economy has developed so much, you wouldn't recognise it as the same place. In fact, there are more bikes than on the streets of Amsterdam, if you've ever been there.
He says, there are more bikes in Rivas than on the streets of Amsterdam. Not that Rivas has almost as many bicycles as Amsterdam. He also says that the local economy has transformed so much, you wouldn't recognize it as the same place. So the correct answer is C, once again. To get this one right, you need to be able to make the link between totally transformed and not recognizable. Well done, if you got that one correct, first time. Lastly, question 15. Here is the audio.
Pedal Power still needs your help. You may have read about some of our recent problems in the British media. In August 2000, we simply ran out of money. We had containers of bikes ready to send, but no money to pay the bills. It was a terrible situation. We managed to ensure the bikes went out on time, but the other problems carried on for several months.
For this question, you need to be familiar with the term overheads, which is a business term meaning expenses. He says that they had no money to pay the bills. So, the correct answer in this question is A. It couldn't meet its overheads. That's the last of the multiple choice questions in this section. 5. Sentence completion. In these questions, you need to complete the sentences with 1 or 2 words. The scenario is a talk about membership requirements for joining a leisure club. Before the audio begins, read the sentences, and try to predict the type of words you are listening for. For example, question 13 could be something about health conditions. Question 14 might be about rules or regulations. And question 15 might be about a trial, or introductory membership period. If you can try to predict the type of words you're listening for in advance, it will help you when the correct answer comes over the audio. Ready? Here is the audio.
One thing all our members appreciate about us is that we take very good care of them. This starts on day 1 with your personal assessment. You are asked to fill in a questionnaire giving details of any health problems. One of our personal trainers will then go through this with you. The trainer will then take you through the safety rules for using the equipment in the fitness suite. During your next exercise session, a personal trainer will work with you to make sure you understand these. It's very important to do this because we really do want to avoid having any sports injuries. There's a lot more to looking after yourself than simply lifting weights. At the end of the personal assessment, the trainer will draw up a plan outlining what you should try to achieve within a 6-week period. This will then be reviewed at the end of the 6 weeks.
Here are the answers. Our prediction for question 13 and question 14 was quite close. Take a moment now to read through questions 16 and 17 and try to predict what you might hear. Here's the audio clip.
Now, I'll just quickly run through the types of membership we have available. All members must pay a joining fee of £90 in addition to the rates for the monthly membership fees. Gold membership entitles you to free entry at all LP clubs. There are now LP clubs in all major cities and towns, so if you travel a lot, this will be a great advantage. Individual gold membership costs £50 a month, and joint membership for you and your partner will cost £75.
Here are the answers. How did you do? Read through the last 3 questions now, and make your predictions. Here it comes.
Premier membership is for professional people whose work commitments make it difficult for them to use the club during the day. And so LP gives booking preferences to Premier members at peak times. This means you'll find it easier to book the sessions at times that suit you. Reciprocal arrangements with other LP clubs are available to Premier members. Premier membership is for individuals only, but you'll be sent passes for guests every month. The monthly fee is £65. You don't have to have any special clothes or equipment when you visit the club. We provide robes and hairdryers in the changing rooms, but it's very important to remember your photo card, because you won't be able to get in without it. For people who aren't working during the day,
Here are the answers. The sixth and last type of question that you will face in the IELTS listening test is the short answer question. Like this set of questions shown here. The instructions allow you to answer with up to 3 words and a number. Like always, before the audio begins, use the time given to read through the questions carefully. If it helps, you might want to highlight key question words on the question paper. Read through the questions carefully, now. The answers will come in order. So focus on one question at a time, as you listen to the recording. Here comes the audio.
And how was your timetable? Was it a very busy year?
Oh, very, very busy. They make you work very hard. Apart from lectures, we had practical sessions in a lot of subjects. We did these in small groups. I had to go and work 4 hours every week in a community pharmacy. Actually, I enjoyed this very much, meeting new people all the time. Then in second semester, we had to get experience in hospital dispensaries. So every second day we went to one of the big hospitals and worked there. And on top of all that, we had our assignments, which took me a lot of time. Oh, I nearly forgot. Between first and second semesters, we had to work full-time for 2 weeks in a hospital.
That does sound a very heavy year. So, are you pleased now that you did it? Do you feel some sense of achievement?
Yeah, I do feel much more confident, which I suppose is the most important thing.
And have you got any recommendations for people who are studying from overseas?
Well, I suppose they need very good English. It would be much better if they spent more time learning English before they enter the university, because you can be in big trouble if you don't understand what people are saying and you haven't got time to translate.
Anything else?
Well, as I said before, the biggest problem for me was lack of familiarity with the education system here.
It sounds as if it was a real challenge. Congratulations, Kira.
Thanks, Paul.
Here are the answers. Just to give you an idea of the required format. How well did you do? These are the 6 question types you will encounter in the listening test. Now that you are familiar with the different question styles and how the test is presented, it's just a question of practice. The more tests you do, the easier it will become. Start with the free test in our Materials section. Then follow the links at the bottom of the Materials webpage, which will lead you to mountains of good, free, online listening test resources. Now, go forth and conquer.